going to talk a lot about LeBron James today because things are not all well in Cleveland these days, as we all know. And, of course, we talking Super Bowl. What else can we talk about? It's Brady, it's Peyton Manning, it's a whole bunch of other stuff. But LeBron, that's where we're going. First take up next. Holla.
Let's get it cracking. Let's start the session. March list the competition, balls by that action. You can never debate it. This is actual fact. Stephen A. and Max Kale said they say it's a rap. I'm like, say what? Say what? What's up with all my haters? I'm a ball when I perform. So my jersey's in the air. I'm allergic to my haters. Every morning I prepare. Lot of clothes I can wear just like them Oregon players. Yeah, quack, quack. What it do? Rap like it's nothing to it. Matter of fact, you can ask hard and I'm cooking too. Bass guard cooking too. Nah, look at you. Great mind. They embrace mine like a crooked two. 4 takes, that's you. 3 takes, not me. 2 takes if you lucky. First take, stop me. 4 takes, that's you. 3 takes, not me. 2 takes if you lucky. First take, you got me.
Well, hello there. Good day. It's First Take on a Wednesday. You're halfway there, folks. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Stephen A. Smith is in NYC. Max Kellerman, I'm Molly Karam. What's going on, guys?
What's going on? How y'all doing? Good morning. Good morning.
Ready to do this. LeBron off the top.
Yes.
Can't beat it.
Let's roll.
Let's do it. We tip things off with the King. After the Cavaliers dropped 5 of their last 7 games, LeBron James unloaded on what he believes is a roster ill-equipped to repeat later. LeBron addressed his comments on Twitter. I'm not mad or upset at management because Griff and staff have done a great job. I just feel we still need to improve in order to repeat, if that's what we want to do. Stephen A., how concerned should Cavs fans be?
Well, they should be very, very concerned. Number one, LeBron James is lying. And number two, and more importantly, he's absolutely right about what he's saying. He's lying about the fact that he's not upset. He's upset. He's frustrated because he recognizes in his mind anyway that the level of commitment that he put forth towards pursuing a championship is not shared by management in his mind and in his eyes. He's thinking about the fact that, again, you let Matthew Dellavedova walk away in the offseason. You had a $9 million trade exception or something along those lines. I don't know if it was that much, but you did have a trade exception that you didn't use as efficiently as you could have. He's thinking about the absence of personnel, the absence of depth, the pressure that it puts on all the bodies, particularly in the starting lineup. And he's saying what's going on here. More importantly, what he's also saying, Max, is this. I'm the dude that's been to 6 consecutive NBA Finals. Granted, I'm a 3-time champion. I've lost 4, but at the end of the day, I've been to 7 NBA Finals. I've been to 6 straight. I kind of know how to do this, and I know what we're not doing. In the face of the Cavs, the reason why, if you're a Cavs fan, you're supposed to be concerned is, believe it or not, Max, is because they sit here today as the reigning, defending NBA champions. See, when you're chasing an elusive crowd that had eluded you for more than a half-century, not just you, but any professional sports team in the Northeast Ohio area, then you've got a problem. But once you've captured that championship, whereas LeBron isn't resting on his laurels, clearly he's fearful that that's exactly what they're doing. Now, I'm here to tell you they feel differently. They don't feel they're resting on anything. They think it's a long season. The trading deadline is February 23rd. They think they've got about a month or less than a month to get things done and to add pieces. They're always working the phones trying to make things happen. In the case of Dan Gilbert, my sources tell me you've got folks out there. Dan Gilbert's going off because he's annoyed that LeBron would open his mouth and go public as opposed to coming up to the office and talking to upper management. But it speaks to the acrimony that exists, the lack of a true, genuine relationship that they have. And in the end, LeBron James is on the court handling his business, praying that the front office will handle theirs. And the front office is like, let us handle our business. You go out there and do your job.
Well, how concerned should Cavs fans be is the question, right? And the answer is,
I answered it.
Not very much, Cavs fans. You shouldn't be too concerned. First of all, I'm from New York City, born and bred. So it's not like I can tell you a lot about what it's like to be a small market fan. But my uncles, brothers, cousins, roommates, sisters, brother-in-law tells me. In other words, I don't know, Stephen A. The point is, from everything I can gather, I don't know. I'm not from I'm from New York. I don't know what to tell you.
I got you.
From everything I can gather, if you root for a small market team, and it's not the San Antonio Spurs or some team like that. In other words, it's a genuine small market team like Cleveland that until the very recent past has never been able to attract a top-notch free agent, etc. If you root for a team like that and they just won a championship, they just went to 2 finals and won a championship, you ain't going to be complaining about too much. You don't have too much to be concerned about in the first place. Then in the second place, you say, yeah, but we have LeBron James. If you root for Cleveland now, we should be concerned because with LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love, we can win another championship. Well, let's talk about what really were the expectations heading into this season. The expectations of most is that were that the Cavs would get to the finals, where they would likely lose to a Warriors team that took them 7 games and going down to the last possessions of the game, and now just added Kevin Durant. Took away Bogut, but added Kevin Durant. So the expectation was eventually they would fall in the rubber match to the Golden State Warriors. The expectations haven't changed. So if you're a Cavs fan, how concerned should you be? You just went to 2 finals, you won 1. The expectations on your season success haven't changed. It's not like anyone thinks anyone in the East is going to knock out the Cavs now. I don't think they should be too concerned, tell you the truth, if you're a Cavs fan.
Well, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, first of all, you got to take things into consideration. Number one, Max, because they're a small market team, even though the rules have changed and it's facilitated small market teams being able to compete with the bigger market teams or whatever, because everybody's getting paid in the NBA these days, the fact of the matter is that you have the greatest player in the world. There's a window here as it pertains to him. And also keep in mind that he's a guy that can be a free agent after next season. And so he can ultimately decide to leave again. As it pertains to worries and concerns that the Cavs fans should have, you would like to believe that the David Griffins and the Dan Gilberts of the world, more so Dan Gilbert, because David Griffin just goes about the business of doing his job, but a Dan Gilbert, LeBron James marriage that somehow, some way, they can make sure to avoid any kind of friction. Because, again, if you're Dan Gilbert, you delivered on your promise to bring a championship to Cleveland just like LeBron did, because LeBron might have went out there and played, but you clearly went out there and paid. You paid Tristan Thompson in excess of $80 million. You gave Kyrie Irving in excess of $90 million. You gave Kevin Love in excess of $113 million. You sat up there and gave LeBron his money. You paid J.R. Smith, etc. And so when you look at it from that perspective, they both did their jobs. As a result, Dan Gilbert could sit back and say, well, you know what? I don't have to prioritize. I'm a businessman. I'm allowed to look out for my pocket just like anybody else. You got the championship that was so elusive. What the hell are you crying about? LeBron can turn around and remind the world in his own subtle way, I brought this up first go-round with Cleveland before I left. I brought this up when I was in Miami because I had a problem with Mickey Harrison and Pat Riley and them talking to me about luxury tax numbers when they let dudes walk away, okay, including Mike Miller, which perturbed LeBron James at that time. And now here we are revisiting this thing for a 3rd time in the career of LeBron James, when the other 2 times he brought that up, he left. When he brought it up in Cleveland, he left. When he brought it up in Miami, he left. Well, you don't want LeBron James to leave if you're Cleveland, and that's the kind of stuff you got to be concerned about.
Molly's about to redirect this in a second, but Molly, let me quickly just get in that LeBron James, if you're a Cleveland fan, you have to have faith at this point, based on the evidence, you have to have confidence that LeBron James will do the most with what he has. This is not the LeBron James who was so awesome early in his career he could drag an under-talented squad to the finals where he lost, or once he got with a talented squad, choked under pressure and choked away 4 fourth quarters in the finals against the Mavs team they should have beaten. That's not this LeBron. This LeBron is incredibly talented still, just, almost the same as he was, maybe even those early LeBrons, better than that version, and has a keen understanding of what it takes to win a championship, how much he has to rest, etc., how he has to get his teammates involved, how to lead a team to a championship. And that includes personnel ideas, what he needs. It includes evaluating the pieces around him. So if you're a Cavs fan, rest assured, LeBron not only knows what the team needs and will pressure the front office, but whatever he has, he will take it as far as it can possibly go, as he did 2 years ago without Love and Kyrie, and as he did last year.
That's not even relevant. I mean,
Why is that not relevant?
Think about what you're saying. Hold on, let me explain. Think about what you're saying to Cavs fan. We're sitting up here debating this subject. You know what you just said to the Cavs fan, Max Kellerman?
Good.
Be happy with what you get.
That's right.
Because LeBron is going to do the best that he can.
He
Come on,
will
man.
do the best that can be done.
Wait a minute. Nobody's debating that. The issue is that LeBron is saying he can only do but so much on the court. He needs management to go up there and get him an extra piece. Everybody knows that LeBron's going to do the best he can. Think about that. You're sitting here and saying the Cleveland Cavaliers fan, you know what? LeBron's going to do the best he can.
That
doesn't work for anybody.
No, LeBron's going to do the best he can, and the best he can is the best that can be done. That includes personnel decisions, which he will get done. That includes taking a group as far as it can possibly go. Now, if the Warriors are just better and nothing can overcome it, all right, Cavs fans, you went to 3 and you won 1. That might be the way it has to be.
On that note, speaking of getting things done, Stephen A., who has more power, Cavs owner Dan Gilbert or LeBron?
Dan Gilbert. Everybody can sit up there and talk about LeBron James having all the power all he wants to. Last time I checked, LeBron James isn't cutting checks. He's cashing them. Don't get me wrong. He's responsible for the value of the Cleveland Cavaliers franchise. It would plummet, you know, in the Lake Erie if he were to depart. We all know the profound impact he had on the local economy in Cleveland once he departed. But when you ask the question, who has more power with the Cleveland Cavaliers, it's the man who cuts the check. And the reason why it's more profound in terms of Dan Gilbert's power now more than ever before is because he doesn't owe anybody anything because he delivered the title. See, that's the key here. When you're chasing that elusive crown and you didn't deliver on the goods, everything could go south on you. But the fact that he did not do that, the fact that a championship now resides in Cleveland, and he has a history of cutting the check. I don't agree with every decision Dan Gilbert made. I certainly don't agree with him from a temperamental standpoint, the way he disrespected LeBron. I don't blame LeBron if he never forgives that man for that. I get all of that. But let's not act like Dan Gilbert is the modern-day version of what Donald Sterling was in the 80s when he paid the lowest amount possible and all he did was collect a profit while the Clippers stunk up the joint for over a decade. That's not Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert cuts the check, and he's willing to pay in most situations. So he does have somewhat of an argument in that regard, particularly as we're sitting here now arguing the Cleveland Cavaliers are in first place and the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and we're acting like Dan Gilbert has done nothing.
No, he's done nothing.
I don't know if I could accuse the man of that.
Dan Gilbert has done nothing but stink and get lucky in the draft because they kept drafting higher than even their records suggested they should. Eventually,
we're not talking about that. We're talking about right now.
Because of dumb luck, they stockpiled enough talent that LeBron was interested in coming back. I mean, that's what happened. Dan Gilbert has done nothing. Dan Gilbert doesn't even really sign the checks. And I'll tell you why, Stephen A. That suggests that he has a choice. Now, right now in the NBA, you have to spend 90% of your cap. You have to. If you don't, then the difference is funneled to the players anyway. That's the floor, 90% of the cap. And every single owner in the NBA, without exception, if they have LeBron James, will give them the biggest contract they can. Every single one. Kyrie Irving, same thing. And many teams would give Kevin Love the max, too, whether or not he deserves it. So that's not really a choice he's making. Because of the salary cap, almost every owner behaves the exact same way. You don't need Dan Gilbert to sign those checks. There'd be a line out the door if you wanted to sell it to the franchise that would sign those exact same checks. Dan Gilbert deserves precisely 0 credit, none at all. He hasn't done a damn thing. Nothing. Deserves no credit for this. He has nothing to do with it. He is interchangeable with a million different owners and a million different would-be owners. On the other hand, LeBron James is different from everyone. He's different than everything else in sports. His presence alone has turned Cleveland into one of the centers of the sports universe. And it's not as though he sprinkled this pixie dust over the city of Cleveland, and when he leaves, it's going to take root and it's going to bloom into this renaissance in Cleveland. No, when LeBron James leaves, it is over in Cleveland, and Cleveland goes back to meaning nothing in the sports world, at least in the basketball sports world. We saw what Kyrie could do and Kevin Love could do on their own. Even as Kyrie improves, he ain't ever going to be LeBron James. So LeBron James is not only more important to the Cleveland Cavaliers, he has more power than Dan Gilbert with the Cleveland Cavaliers, which is why he wanted his coach replaced. He got it. He wants a backup point guard. Watch what's going to happen. When he says jump, Dan Gilbert can throw a tantrum. Ultimately, it's how high and when can I come down, or else he knows LeBron's out of there. He can't afford that.
Not only are you wrong, you're misinformed. Number one, the payroll is $128 million as we speak. Number two, LeBron James had a guy owning cruise lines in Mickey Arison in Miami. One of the reasons he left was because he didn't like what they were doing in terms of luxury tax issues. Every NBA aficionado has chronicled this. Every one of them have mentioned this. That had something to do with it. In other words, you don't have to pay as much as Dan Gilbert paid. Listen, wait a minute now. He's locked in for this year. He ain't going nowhere this year. The point that I'm trying to make to you is, I'm answering your question. The point that I'm trying to make to you is, yes, it would be wise for him to pay the money, but he doesn't have to. And so when we sit up here and we say that an owner has to,
he does.
Throughout NBA history, we have seen owners that went right up to the line, would do absolutely no more than that, and would sabotage their franchise in the face of profit. LeBron returning to the Cavs. Dan Gilbert bought the Cavs. You're talking about $880 million. I mean, do you have any idea what they're worth now because of LeBron? In other words, he already has his money.
No,
he's got his money.
Leaves, the value plummets.
Wait a minute. But at the same time, even though you could say it plummeted, Baltimore buys the Clippers for $2 billion.
It's LA.
So the point that I'm trying to listen, I'm trying to help you here, bro. I'm trying to say to you that, of course, your value might plummet to some degree, but the value of being a part of the NBA brand has significant cachet. You're gaining profit from that alone. Casinos with Dan Gilbert, gaining profit with that alone. Plus, he's got his own money anyway. So when you take that into consideration, yes, it would be wise for him to do exactly what you say, but he doesn't have to. So the fact that he doesn't have to, but he still chooses to position you to compete for a championship, I can't sit up here and say he deserves no credit.
He deserves no credit.
I can't do that.
So in other words, here are his options. Do precisely as LeBron James tells you, which is what will happen, or be an abject moron. Those are his two options. Who's going to choose abject moron? If he does,
Dan Gilbert been a moron? Has Dan Gilbert been a moron in the past?
Yes.
Thank you. So he does have a choice, doesn't he? He does have a choice. Because he's already shown what he will do.
He was a laughingstock who said, we're going to win a championship before LeBron James ever does, and basically had to get on his knees and kiss the ring to get LeBron to come back.
Excuse me. And LeBron came, didn't he?
Well, once Gilbert groveled.
So what I'm saying to you is this. He benefited from it. You can't take back the benefits. He's in a position as an owner to screw things up. And the fact is, he doesn't deserve all the credit in the world. But respect you of all people being a capitalist that you are. I can't believe suddenly you're fogged over the difference between somebody who cuts the check and somebody who cashes it. I respect the fact that the man, as the owner, gets to cut the check. And I respect the prowess that comes with it.
And I do not.
What's wrong with that?
I do not, because everyone would be cutting the exact same check.
That's not true. That's not true. If that was the case, LeBron would still be in Miami.
Okay, check this out.
You're wrong.
Check this out, Dan Gilbert.
You're wrong.
Sell the team and watch what the next owner does with LeBron. They'll cut him the same check.
All right.
Him, not the rest of the guys.
On that note, gentlemen, you know who else has a choice? Big Ben Roethlisberger. Ben and Antonio Brown have been together for 7 seasons now, but are their careers in Pittsburgh about to end for both of them? We'll discuss how much Steelers fans should be panicking right now. Plus, our old pal, Jerry Jones, he never lets us down with those quality quotes. You are not going to believe what he has to say about Tony Romo now. Stay tuned.
Ballin'.